Now, you just gave us some real great history on who you felt like was the best players that you ever seen play. But now, I want to get from you, give me one player from Roosevelt, Washington, in Central, or however you want to do it. But give me your top three best players that I want to know who's your best player.
From the Roosevelt era through the EC Central era, I would have to take Tony Harris. He would probably be about the only one out the Roosevelt era. Um, the EC Central era, um, Carlton Baker, Udi, and Etwan Moore. Um, those were the best three basketball players that I saw on the high school level that came out of the East Chicago public school system. Um, they clearly stood above everyone else. As a senior, everyone knew Etwan was clearly the best player on the floor every night. Even in the state championship game, I think Eric Gordon was better, but that night Etwan Moore was the best basketball player on the floor in the state championship game against North Central. Um, Carlton Baker, Udi just dominated. Whenever he was on the floor, there was no one out there that could guard him. And very few people you could say that about, on the high school level coming out of the East Chicago public school system, that they were just unguardable every single night. Tony Harris, athletic ability, there was no one close to him. And to be quite honest, that's the reason why I speak so highly about Tony Harris as a basketball player, because his skill level wasn't beyond everyone else. There were a lot of people that were close to him or in some areas had better skills than him. But what set Tony Harris above everyone else was his athletic ability. And my personal opinion, I think that Tony Harris was the best basketball player that I saw play between East Chicago Roosevelt and EC Central. Um, Tony Harris could handle the ball. Tony Harris could shoot, but Tony Harris was really, really quick and could jump really high. And because of that, he was great on the defensive end because he used his quickness and athletic ability. It wasn't so much that he was a great on the ball defender, because I don't think anybody really focused on that in high school. If a guy was a great defender in high school, it was probably because he was really, really quick, had great athletic ability and instincts. Um, with Udi and Etwan Moore, I saw them prosper on the offensive end. I can't really speak on Etwan as being a great defender, or even Udi, but Tony Harris was a really good defender because of his athletic ability. And like I keep saying, is that his athletic ability was unparalleled to anyone else's that I saw on the high school level. Um, and Tony went on to have a real solid career. He finished his college career after going to a few colleges. He finished at New Orleans, and pro scouts were down there all the time taking a look at him. And he didn't get drafted, but he did get a free agent tryout with the Washington Bullets. He didn't make the team. He played with them in the preseason, and he went on to play in the CBA after that. And he also played overseas. But then he got that first year he was in the CBA, he got called up and he played with the Philadelphia 76ers on two 10-day contracts. And then he went back to the CBA, and of course he played overseas. And as everyone knows, Tony Harris had a game where he scored over 100 points in one game, and he shot like 50, maybe I think like 53 free throws in that game. Unheard of. But what was explained to me was that, and he told me this himself, is that when he was out there, he wasn't there to pass the ball. The only thing they wanted him to do was to take the ball, shoot, and take control of the game. So in that one game when he scored over 100 points, that's exactly what he did. And how many people can say that they scored 100 points in a professional basketball game, or just any organized basketball game? Then of course after that, Tony Harris went on. He got signed by the Boston Celtics, and he actually made the team that year. He had a guaranteed contract for 1 year, and he was with them for about 3 or 4 months, and something ended up happening, and they end up cutting him loose. So with that, I'm going to have to say that Tony Harris is the best basketball player that I saw come through East Chicago Roosevelt and East Chicago Central. And I think that his body of work on the basketball court confirmed that, because to this day, he has had more success than anyone else out of those two schools in basketball.
What can you tell athletes who may be in positions of E'Twaun, Tony Harris, Ike, etc., about what not to do and what to do as they try to go to college?
Well, the first thing is go to school to go to school. Go to class, study, and try to be a student athlete and not just an athlete on scholarship. Because if you look at the history of East Chicago athletes, no one makes it to the pro level. It's really hard to do. But even if you don't make it to the pro level, you go to school, you get your degree, you have something to fall back on, and you can go out there into corporate America and say, I'm so-and-so, my credentials are, I have a degree from this school, I would be interested in working for you. Back in that day, a lot of the guys just went to school to play ball. It's changed a lot now because they've had so many problems in colleges with recruiting violations, athletes getting paid, and people giving them things. So the schools are really clamping down now, and they're taking education serious. The second thing is to stay focused, go to God first, because there are so many people out there that are going to try to pull you down. This is something I know through my own experience. I took a turn and stayed on that path for many years, and eventually I got off that path and got back on course, and I managed to stay on course. I think that's really important, surrounding yourself with the right people. Definitely avoiding drugs and alcohol. They kill, they can't help you, and that's through my own personal experience. I'm a recovering addict, and I have been alcohol and drug free for almost 14 years, and that has also been the downfall of many of our athletes. They went away to school, got into the drugs, got into the alcohol, and things were never the same.
What is one motto that Keith Jackson always lived by?
Live one day at a time. Treat people the way that I would like to be treated. Always respect my elders. Learn to listen. Try to do the right thing. And I have a quotation that I like, because we have, people, we meet a lot of people, you deal with a lot of people, and there's this term called beef. There's a lot of beef going on between people not getting along. When you encounter someone, if you become an acquaintance of theirs, if they show you who they are, believe them. Don't think that they're doing this and this is not the person that they are. When you see things in people, when you see certain behaviors in people, pay attention to it, because they're doing the same thing to you.
Hey, Keith, I want to thank you for being on Athlete Lives Network, man. It's been a real pleasure. In the future, man, I hope we can do it again one day. Nice little interview. This is Athlete Lives Network. Once an athlete, always an athlete.
Thank you.